Yes, people, welcome back to The Sit Down. In today's episode, we have to talk about the one and only Katie Taylor and her final fight, her swan song, her retirement, which is really and truly just about to commence with this big fight that's been announced. But before we get into all the details of it and talk about the press conference that took place today, can I ask that if you haven't already, you hit that subscribe button for more content. And of course, as always, please do hype the video. It really does help us content creators, especially the ones who don't have huge channels. And if you could like, share, and comment as well, I would also really appreciate it. So today we saw the Katie Taylor versus Flora Pili press conference, and it was really actually quite emotional. I mean, listen, I'll be the first to say that there are often times that I give Eddie Hearn a hard time, and for many different reasons. Most of it is just the fact that he, of course, has this, this front that he puts on often, and he talks a good game. Of course, he does. He's a fantastic promoter, but I've got to say, when I was listening to him opening up the press conference and I was watching him do it, and he did it with such class, and he did it with such skill, and he didn't read off of a paper. There wouldn't have been an auto cue there. I've attended so many press conferences. I've never seen an auto cue for Eddie Hearn. He was really talking from his heart, and he was speaking so beautifully about Katie Taylor's career, deservedly so. And it was really heartwarming. It actually got me a little bit emotional, I must say. So credit to him. He did a really fantastic job of introducing that press conference, and really giving Katie her much deserved praise. The fight itself is going to take place on September the 5th, and the fact that they've managed to get it into Croke Park Stadium is absolutely massive. It's something that Katie Taylor has been saying that she has wanted for an extremely long time. It was definitely on her career bucket list. And from, by all accounts, it was kind of like, will it happen? Will it not happen? And they did manage to get it over the line for her final fight, which is absolutely huge in and of itself. The fact that it's also for it's an undisputed fight because her opponent, Flora Pili, is the IBO super lightweight champion, and WBC number one, mandatory. So it's for the undisputed. If Katie Taylor should win, then she will become 3 times undisputed across 2 different weight divisions. Usyk is the only other person who's done that. But what's also just so incredible about this achievement of having it at Croke Park is the last person that fought there was Muhammad Ali, and that was in the 1970s. So, it kind of actually fits so nicely. Katie Taylor, for all of I haven't given her stick over the years because there's really nothing for me to say, but her boxing style, technically speaking, isn't to my necessarily liking. I quite like pretty boxing. I really like the tacticians, the technicians, etc. However, she has been in so many iconic fights. Katie Taylor has been in so many iconic fights. She's done incredible things in the sport. What she's achieved can never, ever be spoken down about, regardless of if someone likes her style or not. That's neither here nor there. She is an incredible sports person, and like today, hearing her speak in the press conference is probably the most I've heard her open up. It was really lovely to hear. And it was even more lovely to hear, Eddie sort of list off her achievements. He spoke about, there was a point when she first started boxing as an amateur where, if you don't know the story, I'm sure most of you do, but she used to have to hide her ponytail because girls didn't box and she couldn't get fights as a girl. So she had to hide her ponytail, which says everything that it needs to say to think about that's where she started to where she's ending up and what she's done in the meantime. He spoke about her going on to then win 5 or 6 European championships as an amateur, 5 or 6 world championships as an amateur, then go on to win the golds in the Olympics, and then go on to have this incredible professional boxing career that she's had. It's really the stuff of legends, and she is a legend. And I think oftentimes we speak about Clarissa Shields being the GOAT. But for me, I do feel that when it comes to women's boxing and the fact that Katie has what she's done for women's boxing and then also what she's done for boxing as a whole, yeah, I think that Katie can definitely be considered, the GOAT, in the sense of her accomplishments. It's phenomenal. And she absolutely deserves this finale fight in Croke Park to become undisputed. Eddie spoke about, when she had the Amanda Serrano fight coming out in the MSG. I think it was the MSG, and really like taking in the atmosphere and looking around, and this is going to be so many more fans there. And don't forget, these aren't just fans over in America. These are Irish fans, people who've supported Katie throughout her whole entire career, and they're extremely passionate people. And I'm sure they're extremely proud of Katie Taylor. She's such a symbol, isn't she? So I think it'll be a phenomenal swan song for her. She really, really deserves it as well. And, Eddie talked in the press conference about, but we still got to win the fight. And yes, absolutely, it's still a fight, and your opposition is a world champion. She's also, I believe, European, and she's European and maybe something else. I don't quite remember. However, I think that, I do think that Katie is probably a strong favourite to win. I'm just thinking back to the time that she had this homecoming fight in Dublin, and it was the first Chantel Cameron fight. I was actually there, I was ringside, and she didn't win that fight. And it was a really disappointing homecoming for her, because it's something she'd wanted to do for so long, and she wasn't able to get the win over Chantel Cameron. I don't suspect that this is going to be of that level. But it is still a fight, and it's one I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, to close off an incredible story, an incredible career for such an incredible sports person. So it should be really, really exciting. And of course, the undercard will 100% get stacked with Irish talent, and it'll be really, really interesting to see who is selected. Eddie did make a reference in the press conference that, every Irish boxer, retired and active, has been getting in touch wanting to be part of the event, which of course you can't blame them for. So it'll be really, really interesting to see. But I must say, hats off to Eddie Hearn for promoting her career the way that he has. Hats off to her manager for everything that he's done for her, and most of all, hats off to Katie Taylor herself, because she has been such an icon. And it will be really, really, in a way, an end of an era, and quite sad to see her go from the sport. But I think she's over exceeded and, over accomplished all of the potential goals she set out for herself. So, all the best to her. And we'll definitely be tuning in on September the 5th to see her final fight at Croke Park. Guys, let me know in the comments what you're thinking and feeling about Katie Taylor's retirement. It's a huge thing. And of course, as always, don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, and we look forward to catching you on the next episode of The Sit Down.